Hi, this is Ushio and welcome back to Sable's Grimoire. In the last episode we found a hidden secret magic dungeon underneath the school, but now we've learned a little bit about it, it's time to go back to class. So in spite of the temptation that I feel to skip class and hang out with Jolo a while longer, I fulfill my role as a diligent student and turn up to class right on time. As I enter the classroom, what I find awaiting me is a noisy room filled to the brim with excitement. All of my classmates, most of whom are typically indifferent when it comes to our lessons, seem to be looking forward to what's about to come our way. Whatever Eris has told them, she's managed to rile them up considerably. Sable, my dear, finally the guest of honour arrives. Come, please take a seat. Okay. I'll follow Hill over to my usual seat. As I walk across the room, I notice several students staring at me and whispering amongst themselves. The moment I sit down next to Leisha, their volume grows, and the number of people staring at me increases. Okay, Hill, what's going on? Why, whatever do you mean, dear Sable? Don't act like you don't know, there's clearly something going on. Why is everyone staring at me? Oh, so you've begun to question your own popularity? I suppose it's only natural for one to query their social standing from time to time. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Sensing that I'm not going to get a straight answer out of Hill, I look at Leisha. The moment our eyes meet, she sighs and begins to explain. Before you arrived, Eris informed the class that we would be spending this lesson engaging in unorthodox glyph transcriptions. Ever since then, half of the class has been waiting anxiously for your arrival. Unorthodox glyph? Oh, creative typography. That's another name for it, yes. Unorthodox glyph transcriptions, creative typography, exhaustive combination spellcasting. There are many names for this particular subject, and after hearing a few, one might hazard a guess as to what a lesson on this subject entails. For most people, their first guess would likely be correct. Despite the peculiar names, this subject is actually quite easy to understand. Put simply, we play around with existing spells and techniques and try to come up with something new based on what we already know. We mix and match glyphs, challenge established protocols, and generally have fun creating new spells to call our own. I'm sure Amadronia is going to put restrictions in place for the subject, especially after what happened on my first day at the academy. Even so, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to it. The moment I think about what's yet to come, I understand why my classmates are so excited and why they keep looking at Leisha and myself. I used a rather advanced spell in the middle of our practical spellcasting lesson before. Leisha is the valedictorian of the grade, not to mention an elf, and the daughter of the principal. Of the students in our class, we are quite possibly two of the most interesting to watch, especially when it comes to subjects such as this. Okay, looks like everyone's here now. For those of you who've only just arrived, the lesson's going to be unorthodox glyph transcriptions. And before you ask, yes, that does mean you get to play around with glyphs all lesson. More than half of the class cheers in response to Eris's assurance. Even for students who aren't interested in creating new spells, there's still value and excitement to be had in watching others do so. Whether they plan to keep an eye on Leisha and myself, or they simply want to muck around with their friends, this should prove to be an enjoyable lesson for them. Don't get too excited, I am going to lay out some ground rules. First off, you will not cast any of the spells you create until I've reviewed your work and given my approval. We can't have you accidentally poisoning the class or blowing up the wall after all. Secondly, any spell casting will be done in front of the entire class, one person at a time. Finally, you will use as little ether as required when casting your spell. If I see you amassing a large amount of ether, I'm going to disrupt your spellcasting myself. Do you understand? Yes, okay, good. In that case, you may begin when you're ready. Even though Eris's rules put a damper on the enthusiasm of some of the students present, we all waste no time in getting to work. Some students turn on the physical terminals on their desks, others begin writing in ether dust and coming up with lists of possible combinations. Whatever their individual processes may be, there isn't a single student in the classroom who isn't taking the lesson seriously. Okay, I guess I better get to work myself then. Of all the subjects we'll be taking, this is without a doubt the one I'm most suited to. If I can't get top marks in this class, I might as well quit Amadronia and give up on magic altogether. Full of self-confidence, I begin to think about what kind of combination I'm going to show to the class. Something brand new and flashy, a spell I created myself and have used before. Shall we play it? I think we should play it safe, because we are already in trouble and we don't want to get expelled. Given how our practical spellcasting lesson went before, it might be better if I play it safe and go with something I've used before. As much fun as it is to create brand new spells, I really don't want to cause another incident. After a few moments of silent contemplation, I stand up from my seat and walk to the front of the classroom. Oh, you done already? Or are you going to ask for an exemption from the lesson because of your handicap? Eris glances down at the bangle on my wrist. Wow, I should have figured that she would know about this. Smiling wryly, in response to her question, I give her my answer. I'm done. I can show you the reading now if you'd like. You really are done? Well then, by all means, do continue. Having received my teacher's permission, I take a step to the side and turn around so as to stand right beside Eris. With the two of us now looking in the same direction, I raise my right hand and wave my index finger in the air in front of us, leaving behind a trail of ether dust. My movements initially leave behind vague scribbles. Before long, these scribbles become recognisable characters and start to form a pattern. Given another 30 seconds, I complete my drawing. That's your combination? Yeah, that's right. You're telling me you came up with something that complex, thorough and well constructed in only a couple of minutes? Well, not exactly. But I can assure you that this is absolutely 100% my own work. I created this spell myself before coming to Amadronia, all on my own, and I'm certain that I can perform it both safely and adequately. Right. Eris continues to glance back and forth between my face and the glyphs I've just drawn. Is something wrong? No. And that's what worries me. Eris pries her eyes away from my drawing and stares at me intently. Sable, did you really come up with this yourself, all on your own, without help or guidance from anybody else? It's okay if you didn't. Most new spells are the work of many collaborators, rather than solitary individuals. No, it's just me. I know that the arrangement might seem a bit convoluted, but if I can show you how it works, that's not necessary. Eris takes a deep breath and opens her eyes once more. Sable, you're coming with me to the principal's office? What? The principal's office? What did I do? Shut up, I said we're going and that's final. The rest of you, keep practicing. Sable and I are going to be back in time for the next lesson. Or at least one of us will be. Wow, leaving behind those ominous words, Eris grabs my hand and forcibly removes me from the classroom, leaving behind a class full of stunned students and no explanation. By the time I do return to class, I have no doubt there's going to be many new rumours about me, none of which are going to be flattering. Now what have we done? Ah shit, Eris and I walk hand in hand for much longer than a student and their teacher ever should. We pass through corridor after corridor, most of which are thankfully empty, and slowly make our way to the principal's office. Damn, just my luck. We finally have a class that I'm good at, and what happens? I got sent to the principal's office. I look over at Eris, who's still walking beside me. Even though she has let go of my hand, she's still watching me like a hawk, and refuses to let the distance between us grow. No, rather than being sent, it would be more accurate to say that I'm being transported, like a criminal moving to a higher security prison. Whatever I did, Eris isn't taking the situation lightly. Rather than attempt to question my teacher again, I walk in silence. The principal's door is now visible, so whatever it is I've done wrong, I'm going to find out soon enough. Ian, are you here? This is kind of important. Without so much as a greeting, Eris storms into Erin's office. Right behind her, I nervously shuffle my way into the room, still not entirely sure why I'm here in the first place. Well now, if it isn't my favourite succubus. To what do I owe this? Cut the crap, I said it was important. The principal looks past Eris and notices my presence. Wow, you again. What did you do this time? Nothing, I think. And yet, Miss Monty apparently thinks differently. Care to chime in here, Miss Monty? You are the accusing party here after all. Accusing party, my ass. Sable, show Ian the formula you just showed me. Formula? We were just in the middle of creative typography class. Oh, the unorthodox. It's kind of fun. Okay, so what happened? Did you put a prank on the teacher? Did you spit out dirty words with your glyph arrangement? It sounds to me like if anyone here should be sent to the principal's office, it's you. All I did was create a spell and submit it to my teacher. A real spell? You mean not a prank? A real spell, no jokes. Okay, so what's the problem? Did you plagiarise another student's work? Like I would do that. Just show him the damn spell already. Ian, when you see what the kid came up with, you're going to understand. Oh? In that case, please do show me. Show me the fruits of your labour. Seeing no reason not to comply with the principal's request, I repeat the same process as in the classroom. I wave my right index finger in the air, leaving behind a trail of ether dust. As my writing takes form, discernible glyphs begin to manifest, at which point the principal brings his face closer. Let's see. Wow. A weather-altering spell, but that's... No, wait, I see what you've done here. It's an artificial hailstorm. You performed the usual trick of creating ice by lowering the temperature of moisture in the air, then taking it a step further and combined it with spatial magic. On a small scale, you could launch a volley of ice darts, or create shards so small that they will break upon impact, thus soaking your target. Thinking bigger, you could simulate an actual hailstorm or hurl large, jagged, unwieldy spears of ice toward an adversary. It might seem simple, but this is actually quite a versatile spell. It scales well and can be adapted to suit many scenarios. This technique is surprisingly formidable, and in the right hands, it could become quite a powerful tool. I stare at the principal blankly in amazement as he offers a thorough analysis of the spell. His explanation is spot on, and if I didn't know any better, I'd think that he was the spell's creator, not me. You understood all of that just from reading the glyphs? I've been studying magic for centuries, Sable. If you show me a spell's formula, there's little I can't tell you about it. But my talents are not the topic of discussion right now, yours are. Where on earth did you learn a spell like this? Did you decipher an ancient tome, or pillage the grimoire of a great mage? Why must you jump to the conclusion that this is somebody else's work? I created it myself, it's completely my own work, and was not based on the work of anybody else. Impossible, there's no way that, Miss Monty. The principal interrupts Eris the moment she begins to shout. I will take care of this, please return to class. Ah man. Without putting up a fight, Eris places her trust in the principal's judgment and leaves the room. It's now just the two of us, the principal and I, alone once again in his office. I hope he doesn't strap me with another magical artifact. Okay, now that Miss Monty is gone, let's begin this discussion in earnest. I will ask you one more time, where did you learn the spell? Nowhere, I made it. Is that your final answer? Well yeah, it's the truth. Okay, there's no need to get upset. In that case, let me ask you a different question. Where did you learn of the glyphs you used in the creation of that spell? The glyphs? Most of the glyphs used in the spell are uncommon to say the least. We don't teach them at this academy, and even if we did, we certainly wouldn't teach them to first-year students. They aren't glyphs you can freely learn about in any old textbook either. They're certainly not detailed in any human literature I've ever come across. With that being the case, where did you learn about those types of glyphs? Even though the principal's question is straightforward and simple to understand, it isn't easy for me to answer. The truth is, I don't know where I learned most of the glyphs I use. Some I learned from textbooks, others I gleaned from senscapes and magical tools. There are even some which I discovered through simple trial and error. To be honest, I don't know. I learned a lot of them over the past few years. I can't remember the origin of every single one. Then think harder. The principal's reply is short and to the point, but rather than his words, what strikes me is his tone of voice. It doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to get away with a half-arsed answer like I don't remember, even if it's the truth. Should I just lie and tell him I just found an old book, or that I learned it from somebody else? No, even if I tell a lie like that, I've got no way of backing it up. Maybe I can change the subject instead. I'll stiffen my expression and address the principal. Why does it matter where I learned it? What you care about is the arrangement, right? Isn't that why I was brought here? The reason why you were brought here is irrelevant. What matters now is that you tell me what I want to know. If you've uncovered a document containing runic script, then it must be studied by neutral parties and kept out of the wrong hands. If someone taught you what you know, then they must be identified and questioned. Magic's an important tool, and matters pertaining to its foundation must be handled with discretion. That's why I seek your cooperation regarding the matter. I get what you're saying, but I don't really have any answers for you. I'll probably just made the glyphs myself anyway. Don't toy with me. You cannot simply make a brand new glyph. What are you talking about? Of course I can. I can't say for sure that I created these particular glyphs, but I can assert with confidence that I've created several glyphs of my own. Stop posturing, human. Nobody can create new runes, much less a mere human being. Speak for yourself, old man. Just because you can't do something, that doesn't mean other people should be limited to your own shortcomings. Then what? I should just take your word for it, that you're capable of something that no other mage has ever done throughout history. Get over yourself, you're not that special. The principal and I both stopped talking. We simply glare at one another, without saying or doing anything more. Only the sound of heavy breathing continues to fill the room. Shit, belligerent old fool, just who does he think he is? Runes weren't just created out of thin air, obviously someone had to have created them, and if one person can do it, why can't a second? I straighten my posture and slow down my breathing as I think about what to do next. Even if I show the principal a glyph that I created myself, he'll just assume that I gleaned it from some unknown source. But if I go through my entire process with him and explain all of my research pertaining to the fundamentals of magic itself, there's going to be no going back. It might be painful to be looked down upon like this, but if the alternative is to come clean about my research, then I've got no choice. I shake my head in resignation before addressing the principal once more. I understand why you cannot accept what I'm saying, but that doesn't mean it isn't the truth. Runic script isn't something that just suddenly appeared in this world out of thin air. It was created by someone or something as a means of communicating instructions to other parties. Glyphs are ultimately just instructions for manipulating ether. Anyone could potentially create a new one if they possess the time and motivation. The only reason why nobody has done so is that they've given up, because people like you tell them it's impossible, and then admonish them for even trying. You believe that to be the case, do you? Yes, I do. Well, perhaps you got a point. Even if I believe that a particular path is a dead end, there's no reason for me to discourage a student from pursuing what I myself will not. Please forgive my outburst. I should not have been so close-minded. No, it's not that big of a deal. If someone suddenly told me they'd accomplished something that nobody else had, I wouldn't believe them either. You have every right to be sceptical. Even so, I should have been more open to hearing you out, both as your principal and as a fellow mage. The principal's attitude changes completely as he accepts my argument. Despite the fact that I haven't shown him any proof to back up my claims, he seems to at least agree that there are some things even he does not understand. Sable, forgive me for repeating myself, but I want to ask you one last time. Have you truly created a brand new glyph? I mean, yeah. Can you show me? Half expecting that very question, I nod my head and raise my right hand. After taking a moment to think about which glyph to show him, I begin to wave my index finger in the air in front of me. A few seconds later, I lower my hand, then gesture for Iron to take a look. You created this? One of them, yeah. Can you read it? Not as easy as I would like to think. Let me see, if I'm not mistaken, this is the basis for a rejuvenation spell? Yeah, specifically, I've been trying to come up with a spell to emulate the effects of sleep. The effects of... Wow. Sable, you magnificent creature. You've taken up the age-old pursuit of reclaiming those extra 8 hours a day, haven't you? Yeah, you know it. I couldn't find any runes with the effects that I was after, so I decided to start experimenting myself with something brand new. It isn't complete, of course, but what you see here is the foundation I've created. So, what do you think? Did I steal this from somewhere else? Or have I created something new? No, I concede. This is definitely your own work. This glyph is far too sloppy and impractical to have survived since time immemorial. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? I already said it was incomplete. Besides, it's better than anything you've come up with. Wow, don't pout, child. You've done well. Even if you cannot create anything useful right now, this is still an accomplishment beyond compare. Take a few more years to hone your skills, then present your work to the world. This is my advice to you. I slacken my expression and stare at the principal questioningly. So you believe me? Why wouldn't I? The proof is right in front of me. And you don't think I just ripped off somebody else's work? Did you? I mean, no. Then no, I don't believe you ripped off somebody else's work. If you say it's your own work, then I will choose to believe you. My shoulders heave as I breathe a sigh of relief. Looking back, I've always thought somewhere in the back of my mind that when I presented my research to other mages, people would automatically accept and be amazed by it. Without realising it, I've been downplaying the reality of how potential discoveries are questioned and scrutinised. I've focused on the endgame, not the process, and never even considered the possibility that I might be challenged like this. In that regard, this encounter has been quite the learning experience. So, what now? Should I return to class for the next lesson, or... Oh, good question. I believe that all students should attend class when they first begin studying here, regardless of potential race and strength. But seeing as you've already decided your own path, then perhaps there's no such need. What do you think? Would you like to continue attending class as you have been till now, or would an alternative arrangement suit you better? An alternative arrangement? What do you mean? I mean, there's little point in attending a variety of classes if you already excel to such a degree in one particular area, especially when that field is one in dire need of an upheaval and has seen no growth for centuries. Sable, I'm offering you the opportunity to come and go as you please. If you think a particular lesson is going to benefit your studies, then you may attend it, regardless of which class or grade is currently engaging in that lesson. Conversely, if you find a lesson boring or unhelpful, you needn't sit through it. You'll have the same freedoms afforded to you that a third year and higher students already enjoy. Wow, like a third year. My eyes widen as I start to think about the principal's proposal. Due to the dwindling number of people who remain at Amadronia for longer than 2 years, and the fact that students begin to specialise after their second year, third year students are treated rather differently. First and foremost, third year students do not have set classes. They are given the freedom to study what they want and when they want. They can ask teachers to give them special lessons or request specific materials required to further their studies, practically without limit. Their only responsibility as a student is to continue their studies dutifully, and twice a year present the results of their research to Amadronia's principal for grading. That does sound like an amazing opportunity. If I could continue my research here, with expanded access to teachers' materials and funding, I would surely make great strides forward. That being said, there's one part of being a third-year student that I don't particularly want to experience. I narrow my gaze and stare at the principal as an important question comes to mind. When you liken my position to that of a third year, does that include mandatory participation in the hunt? How sharp. I'm surprised you even know about that requirement. Is that a yes? I mean, yeah, I'm afraid so. But you know, the hunt, as you seem to call it, does not deserve the negative image it has cultivated over the years. Yes, demi-humans are often pit against one another in combat. Sometimes people are killed. Ultimately, however, the hunt is for the greater good. You think so? Most demi-humans seem to be opposed to it. Most demi-humans are laughably ignorant. This system allows demi-humans to police their own kind. It gives us the opportunity to enforce the law with understanding rather than prejudice. If we let demi-human matters entirely to the human military or police force, what do you think is going to happen? Sir, I'm not questioning whether it's a good thing or not. I just think that it should be done by somebody else, that you don't want to get your hands dirty, or maybe you think that students shouldn't be hunting potentially dangerous criminals. Sable, I've heard more rationalisations and excuses in my time here than you would believe. Every year there are many third-year students who try to shirk their duties, and of those students, only the ones who caved into my demands have remained at the academy. If you want the same special treatment that third years receive, then you're also going to bear the same responsibilities. Oh, this is a huge decision. I'm really not sure what to do. I mean, if you're a first-year student, you can just kind of like learn all the basics, you know, and work your way up from there. Whereas if you just want to go for it, fine. I scratched the back of my head as I let out an audible sigh. While the thought of hunting down demi-humans leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth, I can't deny the principal's words. The hunt itself isn't a bad thing. Students like Nam may participate for the wrong reason, but for most of those tasked with the responsibility, it's a duty akin to upholding the law. Just as the principal explained, it's a necessary evil which extends in order to prevent prejudiced humans from slaughtering demi-humans unjustly. If helping to maintain order among demi-humans is the price I must pay to continue studying beside them, then so be it. Okay, I'll do it. I accept your proposal. Wonderful. I'd hoped you would see things my way. Though, you could sound a little more excited about being granted such a rare opportunity. Sorry, I do appreciate what you're doing for me, but even so, you don't need to say it, I understand. As a hunter, a human hunter no less, you'll no doubt be ostracised by the majority of your peers. Some will understand, but it would be no exaggeration to say that many of the people who you consider to be your friends will no longer want anything to do with you. That's one of the reasons why I chose to make you this offer without delay. If it's now, before you've forged any strong bonds, falling out of touch with your peers is going to prove much easier on you. Oh, I hadn't actually thought about that. My main concern was what would be expected of me, not how other students would react to my decision. It's going to be a shame to distance myself from the students with whom I've become acquainted, but what really worries me is the thought of going out and pursuing criminals. My studies and my personal safety are of far more importance than my relationship with others. Despite the fact that I prioritise my own advancement over my relationship with others willingly, I do feel somewhat bad about it. The demi-humans I've met here are not bad people. They've treated me well, shown little to no prejudice against my race, and generally acted like I was no different from anybody else. In a way, I feel like I'm betraying their expectations of me, and putting a premature end to what might have been. Then again, it's not like you're going to be completely alone. There are other students in your grade who are going to be participating in the hunt too, after all. I pull myself out of my own thoughts and listen to the principal intently. It seems I might not have sacrificed my chance to learn more about my fellow students just yet after all. How many are there going to be? I mean, I know that you wouldn't have the full list of names yet or anything, but so far, 2 others have agreed, and another 5 have shown interest. A rather average number of first-year participation is not the best turnout, but certainly not the worst. 7 students. Wait, what do you mean by shown interest? The principal lets out another sigh as he shrugs his shoulders. Due to the low number of volunteers every year, we make a point of approaching new students who we believe to be capable and willing. Those who have shown interest are students who we approached, but from whom we have not yet received a response. They might agree, they might not. It's too soon to tell. Oh, I see. Okay, so who's the other student who signed up? I know this guy called Naim said he would sign up, but as for the other person, do you even need to ask? See the principal's reaction to my question. I know, there's only one possible answer. Leisha? That's right. Leisha possesses a firm moral compass, you know. She believes quite strongly that demi-humans should have governed their own kind, without human intervention. And of course, when it comes to a fight, my daughter is no lightweight. Wow, I hadn't considered Leisha to be a candidate, but what you're saying makes sense. Then the other 5? See for yourself. The principal summons his own terminal and flips straight to the list of participants in the hunt. Along with Nam, Leisha and myself, there are 5 names listed as potential participants from among the first year students. Okay, none of these names are familiar to me. I might have met 1 or 2 of them, but beyond that... No, wait a second, I know this one. I turn my gaze away from the terminal and look back at the principal. Draken? Yeah, possibly. We're only 3 days into the new term, and that girl has already been sent to my office numerous times, so I thought that some extracurricular activities might help settle her down. She said that she'd think about it, but honestly, I'm not so sure it's a good idea. Really? I thought you'd all be for having a half-dragon on the front lines. Sable, you seem to be misunderstanding what it is I'm asking of you. I agree that having people refer to this noble duty as the hunt is misleading, but you mustn't forget that our goal is to maintain order and to pursue peace. Yes, there are some demi-humans who run amok, and who can only be subdued through force, but the majority of cases involve demi-humans who are lost, or who don't understand human society and its laws, people who require nothing more than compassion and guidance. As such, we need students who exercise tact, discretion and understanding. Brute force is a last resort, and by no means our creed. The principal gets a bit fired up as he corrects my understanding. It seems that I'm not the first person who heard the unfortunate name of the hunt and bought into the doubt and fear surrounding the campaign. Honestly, I'm ashamed to have believed what I heard without seeking further information from a reputable source. For a wannabe researcher, that's about the most basic mistake you can make. At any rate, I'll be glad to have you on board. With you and my daughter both participating, I'm certain that I'll have nothing to worry about. Okay, yeah, thanks, I'll do my best. I'm sure you will. That being said, it's still going to be a few weeks until your first assignment. Keep your new responsibility in mind, but don't allow it to consume you. You're still a student above all else. Yeah, I understand. Oh, and on that note, oh no, you don't need to return to class. You can take advantage of your new privileges at your leisure. Oh, good to know, but that isn't what I wanted to ask. I was just wondering about my grade. Your grade? Yeah, if I'm not taking classes like everybody else in my grade, does that mean I'm no longer competing with them? I mean, am I still going to be ranked as a first year? Am I going to go up a grade at the end of the year? How does this all work? And what about my marks in each subject? How does that work? Do I even have subjects anymore? Sable, you're overthinking it. Start thinking of yourself as a student, and start to think more like, yeah, think of yourself as a contracted researcher. A what now? A magic researcher on my payroll? You have no grade or rank or class, nor do you need to take tests, or be expected to take part in student activities. Your job is to further your research, and to occasionally assist demi-humans in need. As long as you continue to do those 2 things, I'm going to renew your contract. I unconsciously tilt my head to the side, as I try to wrap my mind around Iron's proposal. So I'm not a student? If thinking of yourself as an employee of Amadronia rather than one of its students helps you to make this distinction clearer, then you're welcome to do so. Am I still going to receive an allowance, even though I don't have a rank? You will be compensated for your time and effort, yes. Oh, I begin to think about what kinds of possibilities might just have opened up to me. Then, if I wanted to go to the city for the day just to hang around the academy library, you're welcome to spend your days as you please, off and on campus. So if Sable, stop it. You may have great freedom now afforded to you, but that doesn't mean you should seek to actively abuse it. If you want to go somewhere or do something for the sake of furthering your studies, then you have my blessing. But if your goal is something different, then please ask yourself whether it is truly a good use of your time. I will not be looking over your shoulder, not too closely at least, and you needn't ask for my permission. Do whatever you feel is best for your education. Okay, so we kind of had a bit of an upgrade. So I think we're going to resume our new studies in the next episode. This is Usho signing off, and hopefully I'll see you next time.